Elias Gray had been wandering for days. He was no soldier, no explorer, no adventurer. He was an engineer, one of Earth's last true mechanics, born in a world where machines were built to last but rarely repaired. War had taken nearly everything from him. His home, his family, his sense of belonging. All that remained was his toolkit, an old satchel filled with tools that had seen better days. He drifted from one desolate world to another, trading repairs for scraps, fixing what others abandoned. When he first saw the ship, he froze in awe. It wasn't like human vessels. Its lines were elegant, its body both brutal and graceful, a fusion of art and technology. The alien symbols along its hull pulsed faintly, as if the ship itself still breathed. Elias approached slowly, brushing the dust off its surface. Despite the centuries, its metal felt alive. That was when he heard the voice. "You dare touch the Queen's crown." Elias spun around, wrench raised. From the shadows of the ship's ramp, a figure stepped forward. She was tall, regal, her silver hair flowing like liquid light. Her skin shimmered faintly under the pale sun, and her eyes, violet, sharp, unyielding, locked on him with something between suspicion and despair. "You're alive," Elias whispered. "I am Serelith," she said, her voice steady though tinged with exhaustion. "Queen of the Veari Dominion. This is my ship. Broken. Silent. Like my people." Elias lowered his tool. "And you've been here, all this time." "Waiting," she said. 100 of your years. My ship, my kingdom, stranded in this grave. None have been able to mend it. And now a human dares lay his hands upon it." Her gaze hardened. "Why are you here?" Elias hesitated. Then he did what he always did. He told the truth. "I fix things," he said simply. "And this ship, it deserves to fly again." Middle, repairing the impossible. The Queen laughed bitterly. "Many have tried. Engineers, scavengers, even my own surviving kin. The heart of this ship is dead." Elias knelt by the cracked hull, running his hands across its scars. He felt where systems had burned out, where conduits had ruptured, where alien craftsmanship had withered under time's cruel hand. And yet, beneath it all there was structure, order, potential. "No machine is ever truly dead," Elias said quietly. "It just needs someone who still believes in it." For days, then weeks, Elias worked. He climbed into shattered passageways, mapping conduits that stretched like veins. He deciphered alien glyphs by comparing their patterns, building a crude lexicon in his notebook. He cannibalized broken components, reforging them into something functional. The Queen watched him, at first with disdain, then with curiosity. "You risk your life crawling through its carcass," she said one evening as he emerged from the engine chamber, face streaked with soot. "Why?" Elias looked at her, sweat glistening on his brow. "Because if I don't try, it'll stay broken forever. And I can't stand seeing something meant for the sky trapped on the ground." Her expression softened ever so slightly. "You speak of ships the way my people spoke of souls." Sometimes she would sit near him, telling fragments of her past. How her people had been hunted. How betrayal had shattered her fleet. How this ship had been her last refuge, and her prison. And sometimes Elias told her stories of Earth. Of sunsets that painted oceans in fire. Of laughter shared in small mechanic shops. Of how humans, fragile and flawed, always found a way to rebuild. Something began to grow between them, fragile but undeniable. One night, Elias brought life back to a small console. Lights flickered for the first time in a century. The Queen gasped, her hands trembling as she touched the glowing symbols. You've awakened her heart. Not yet, Elias said, smiling faintly. But we're getting there. The breakthrough. It wasn't easy. The ship resisted him at every step, as though it feared to hope again. Systems overloaded. Circuits burned out. Once, an energy surge nearly killed Elias. But every failure taught him something new, and every setback drew him and the Queen closer. One evening, as storms raged across the valley, Elias found her standing at the bow, staring at the lightning. "You could leave," she said suddenly. "Your kind takes what it can and moves on. Why stay? Why risk yourself for me?" Elias stepped closer. "Because you've been waiting 100 years. And I think no one should have to wait forever." For the first time, her proud, unyielding face broke. She turned away, but not before he saw the tears. The flight. The day came. Elias stood in the engine core, hands shaking as he fitted the last conduit. The ship thrummed beneath him, a low vibration that built with every passing second. Lights blazed to life across the hull. Systems whispered awake, like a beast stirring after a long slumber. The Queen entered, her eyes wide with wonder. "Is it true? Will she fly?" Elias smiled. "Let's find out." Together they climbed to the command bridge. Dust fell from the ceiling as systems hummed to life. Consoles glowed. Panels lit up. The Queen sat in her throne, her hands trembling as they hovered over the controls. "After a century," she whispered. "She remembers me." Elias braced himself as the engines roared. The ground shook. Dust and stones scattered as the ship shuddered, then lifted, slowly, impossibly, off the valley floor. The alien Queen closed her eyes, tears streaming down her face as her ship soared again. "She flies," she whispered. "By the stars she flies." Elias grinned, his heart pounding with exhilaration. "Told you she wasn't dead." Ending a new destiny. 4 days they traveled together, testing the ship's limits. The Queen relearned the rhythms of command, her voice once more filling the halls with authority. But she was no longer alone. Elias walked those halls too, not as a subject, not as a slave, but as the one who had given her back the sky. One evening, as the stars stretched infinite before them, Serelith stood beside him at the viewing deck. "You have done what none could," she said softly. "You gave life to what was lost. You gave me hope when I had none." Elias shrugged, smiling faintly. "I just fixed what was broken." She turned to him, her violet eyes shimmering. "Not just the ship, Elias Gray. You fixed me." Silence hung between them, heavy with unspoken words. Then, with the dignity of a queen and the vulnerability of a woman who had waited a century, she took his hand. "What will you do now?" she asked. Elias looked out at the endless stars. For the first time in years he felt he had a purpose. "Wherever this ship goes," he said, squeezing her hand gently, "I'll be there." The alien Queen smiled, a true smile, radiant and alive. And in the vastness of the universe, aboard a ship reborn from ruin, 2 souls, one human, one alien, found a future neither had dared to dream of.